On November 14th of 2017, Disney officially announced the acquisition of 21st Century Fox. The $52.4 billion deal includes the Fox movie and TV divisions, meaning Disney now owns the Fox movie studio and all its subsidiaries, the Fox TV division including cable channels FX and National Geographic, the regional sports channels, plus Fox's stake in Hulu, among others. The Fox News networks and national sports channels, however, are not included in the deal. These comprise the core business of Fox. As such, they will be split off and placed under a new company, a Fox 0.20 if you will, owned by Fox shareholders. This deal changes the entertainment landscape forever, and it is all about giving Disney a larger catalog, fortifying their position in the TV market, and most notably, giving them the strongest position possible in the streaming market. That, however, is not the focus of this video. If you are a fan of genre entertainment, then what this acquisition means to you is that Disney, the ultimate owners of Marvel Studios, now have regained the X-Men, Deadpool, and the Fantastic Four movie rights, alongside everything else in the Fox stable, from Alien to the Orville, and from The Simpsons to Family Guy. Everyone is happy about the Fantastic Four being back with Marvel, so no one has any issues with that property being rebooted within the MCU. Deadpool and the X-Men, on the other hand, is another story. Not everyone are thrilled about the prospect of those being rebooted. Quite a few are skeptic of the whole deal, because what does this mean for the future of R-rated comic book movies? Will there be no more raunchy titles like Deadpool, or somber ones like the critically acclaimed Logan? What about the future of the Deadpool and X-Men franchises? Will it all be rebooted? And finally, will there be fewer Marvel movies now than if Fox kept making these movies on their own? These concerns will be addressed in this editorial, which is all about Disney and their changing strategy in a changing media landscape. Do note that at the time of making this video, Disney and Marvel haven't made public what their detailed plans are, and they probably won't for some time. It is going to take the better part of a year before the acquisition is not only approved by regulatory authorities, but before it is fully implemented and executed. Some major restructuring is going to happen, and that has barely started. There are some things we know though, and more we can fill in with educated guesswork. The R-rated, but rather humoristic Deadpool was the cheapest, yet highest grossing movie in the entire X-Men franchise, which is a pretty major deal. Not only did that performance get Deadpool 2 fast-tracked, it facilitated the R rating on the anything but humoristic Logan, which also went on to become a massive financial success relative to its budget. Deadpool and Logan weren't just financially successful, they were loved by critics and audiences alike. Many of those audiences worried that under the House of Mouse there would be no more R-rated movies period, let alone somber Marvel movies like Logan. These worries are based on two things. One is the perception of Disney as being exclusively about family values and safe fare, like princesses and Mickey Mouse and fairy tales and animated snowmen. And the other is Marvel Studios in the past having outright stated that they would never release an R-rated movie. Let's address these concerns. Disney is in the business of selling magic moments. They have an image to maintain, and that image is a family-friendly one. As such, they will never release an R-rated movie under the Disney banner. That's what subsidiaries are for, and especially subsidiaries of subsidiaries. Case in point, under the Miramax label, the House of Mouse has released more mature fare like Pulp Fiction among others, and under the Dimension label, Miramax has released horror, gore, brutality, and full frontal nudity, with Disney being the ultimate owners. Movies like Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Feast, and the later sequels to Hellraiser and Halloween among others were by extension all Disney movies. Don't be deceived by the family-friendly front. Granted, Miramax sold off Dimension in 2005 and Disney sold off Miramax in 2010. Not because they wanted to get rid of R-rated movies per se, but because Bob Iger made the strategic choice to release fewer but higher budget event movies and cut down on the low to mid-level budget movies. which is where Miramax just so happened to operate. This is why Iger facilitated the acquisitions of both Pixar, Marvel and Lucasfilm in the first place, while Miramax no longer fit in with Iger's strategy for Disney. But the strategy isn't so much a fixed goal as it is a moving target, and subject to change as circumstances change. Disney is a corporation, and all about maximizing profits in an ever-changing marketplace. Since the return of investment on the R-rated Deadpool and Logan were higher than that of most Marvel Studios movies, that is a very good argument for going into the game of low to mid-level budget R-rated comic book movies that gross as much as the PG-13 blockbusters, carrying far heftier price tags. After the acquisition was announced, Iger himself said that, "We think there might be an opportunity for a Marvel R brand for something like Deadpool. As long as we let audiences know what's coming, we think we can manage that fine." Meaning, Disney-made Deadpool movies will be rated R. Beyond that, Iger makes it sound like they will make a subsidiary under Marvel Studios dedicated to R-rated movies. You generally don't make a subsidiary for just one movie, meaning there could be even more R-rated Marvel movies on the horizon. Credited Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld was initially against the Disney acquisition, but after Iger's comment, even he seemed reassured that Iger knew better than to mess with what Ryan Reynolds had created. And there is more. As early as this summer, Kevin Feige told Allocina that he didn't think R-rated Marvel movies were out of the question, and that was in reference to Marvel Studios. There is R-rated content within the MCU already. Just check out The Punisher on Netflix if you doubt Disney's ability to make something R-rated. This is true beyond the MCU as well. Disney now has a majority share in Hulu. If they, in addition to establishing their own Disney streaming service, want to brand Hulu as something more mature, nothing prevents them from making R-rated content under their newly acquired Fox subsidiary, which may or may not be renamed, and putting those there. Back on topic, Deadpool won't be toned down under Disney, at least not in his own standalone movies. Guest appearances in other movies is another matter. Like, don't expect too many F-bombs if Deadpool suddenly shows up in Spider-Man or something. By and large though, Marvel will want Deadpool the way he is proven to be successful, which is the R-rated way he is. The X-Men, on the other hand, may be another matter. Fox has planned 3 X-Men movies for release in 2018, all of which have been filmed. These are The New Mutants, scheduled for release on April 13th, and that is intended to start its own trilogy. Then there is Deadpool 2, which is scheduled for release on June 1st, and finally, X-Men Dark Phoenix, scheduled for November 2nd. That movie, the sequel to X-Men Apocalypse, is also intended to start its own new trilogy of mainline X-Men movies. As the acquisition will take the better part of a year to get approved and implemented, the most likely scenario is that all of these movies will be released on time under the Fox banner. But depending on how quickly the approval and restructuring progresses, there exists a possibility that that may change. The New Mutants doesn't have X-Men in the title and is scheduled for release as early as April, so that will most probably end up released as is, in order to recoup costs. Don't get too attached to it though, because depending on how far removed it is from what Marvel is planning on doing, that New Mutants trilogy is unlikely to happen. Deadpool is something Disney wants as is, so there is very little chance of anything changing there. But then there is X-Men Dark Phoenix. The likely option is that it will be released, but that is not certain. Make no mistake about it, the X-Men, alongside the Fantastic Four and Deadpool, are going into the MCU, and under the complete control of Kevin Feige. Incidentally, Feige is a huge X-Men fan, and even started out as an assistant to Lauren Schuler Donner on the first X-Men movie. You know Wolverine's comic book accurate haircut in that movie? That wouldn't have happened without Feige. That aside, Deadpool will probably be eased into the MCU as is. I wouldn't be surprised if they retroactively make the Deadpool movies official installments of the MCU. I mean, they are sufficiently separated from the mainline X-Men movies. The first one even has a helicarrier for backwards compatibility. The Fantastic Four will be hard rebooted. No question about that. More likely than not, so will the X-Men. That being the case, it may not be in Marvel's best long-term interest to actually release the Simon Kinberg-directed X-Men Dark Phoenix. In order to avoid brand confusion, preserve the Dark Phoenix storyline for future Marvel Studios X-Men movies, and to build up demand for a reboot down the line. That movie may be scrapped. Depending on when the acquisition is actually approved, that will be Disney's movie to withhold if they so see fit. Note that I am not saying the movie will be cancelled. The most likely course of action is that it will be released as planned, but the option of cancelling it is on the table. And the trilogy it was supposed to launch is definitely not happening. And Gambit, and whatever else Fox had planned on filming in 2018, yeah, they're on thin ice too. This of course have some worried that we will be getting fewer comic book movies released per year after the Fox acquisition. At the time of making this video, it looks like Fox will continue to operate as a subsidiary under Disney. Until otherwise is announced, there will still be new Fox movies, although the name of the banner may change. Fox will no doubt be reorganized, people will lose their jobs, but there will still be Fox movies. Disney didn't buy them to shut them down. But years like 2018, with 3 X-Men themed movies scheduled for release, although it remains to be seen how many of them actually will be released, is unlikely to come again. It is certainly within the realm of possibility that Feige will bring Lauren Schuler Donner and at least some of the other powers that be behind the X-Men movies to Marvel Studios, so they can keep making X-Men movies for the MCU there, under Kevin Feige's strict supervision of course. But Feige's supervision can only extend so far. While a Marvel Studios that controls the Fantastic Four and the X-Men could very well output more movies per year than Marvel Studios does right now, it won't output as many movies as Marvel Studios and Fox does combined right now. That of course brings us back to the question of quality or quantity. Do you want more movies, or do you want slightly less, or do you want slightly less but more consistent movies? Fox has been very hit or miss. For every Logan, there is a Wolverine Origins. For every Days of Future Past, there is an Apocalypse. Maybe fewer X-Men movies a year isn't such a bad idea. Not if it is the apocalypses and the last stands of the litter that ends up not getting made. As more information gets out, you can rest assured we'll keep you up to date here at Midnight's Edge. What do you think about this? And do you have any questions to what is known thus far? Post them in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them in the upcoming roundtable devoted to the acquisition.
If you like this video, then please hit that subscribe button. Due to recent changes made by YouTube, we also encourage all of our subscribers, both new and old, to please hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button as well, so you will be notified when new videos are uploaded. Be sure to check back for news and analysis of the happenings and corporate politics behind the scenes of your favorite genre movies, as well as explorations of your favorite characters and their backgrounds and context here at Midnight's Edge.